The subcommittee will be in order. Our next witness will be Mr. Nicodemo Scarfo of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Given the amount of testimony introduced before the subcommittee relating to Mr. Scarfo, the subcommittee has deemed it appropriate and necessary to call Mr. Scarfo personally and to provide him with the opportunity to respond to the evidence now before us. Mr. Scarfo's appearance is pursuant to a subcommittee subpoena. Mr. Scarfo, if you would please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you are about to give before this subcommittee is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah, I will.
Please be seated. I would ask you, Mr. Scarfo, in addition to giving your name and address, that you introduce your counsel.
Mr. Robert Simone.
Where does he practice?
You want him to answer that?
Yes, I would like the witness to answer.
Philadelphia.
Mr. Scarfo, where do you currently reside?
Your Honor, may I make a brief explanation of Mr. Scarfo's current status and position? I promise it will be brief.
Yes, with the assurance that it will be brief, we will permit it.
Mr. Scarfo is presently here pursuant to the subpoena. I had some communications with counsel for the committee, and at that time I advised counsel for the committee that Mr. Scarfo would be invoking his rights under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and possibly under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. The reason for the explanation is this, that Mr. Scarfo is presently involved in an appellate procedure in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals in which we are contesting the legality of a search of his premises in relation to a case that is pending on appeal. Certain records were taken from a drawer in his apartment, and that search is now the subject of a decision that is pending in the Court of Appeals. It's already been argued. So I wanted to explain why we would be possibly invoking a Fourth Amendment right as well as a Fifth Amendment right. Also, since Mr. Scarfo received the subpoena, certain agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation came with a search warrant to not his home, but the office of Scarf, Inc., and you've already heard testimony that Mr. Scarfo spends a great deal of time in there. And with this search warrant, Mr. Scarfo's sister, who lives in the same building, Mr. Scarfo's mother, Mr. Scarfo, and others were not permitted to remain while the search was going on, and they were taken out of the building. We believe, although cannot prove, and we've heard nothing to the contrary, that the place was at that time wired or bugged. As a result, Mr. Scarfo and myself, as his attorney, believe that possibly his Sixth Amendment right to counsel may have been infringed upon. And I just wanted to explain that to the panel. I understand he also does not have immunity.
No. First, I confirm that Mr. Scarfo does not have immunity. But we intend to proceed with the questions, and of course, you can take appropriate action, and we will review your objections at that time. Mr. Scarfo, where do you currently reside?
26 North Georgia Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
I invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and decline to answer the question. Want me to continue?
What do you do for a living?
I invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and decline to answer the question.
Do you know Frank Gerace, the president of Local 54 of the Hotel and Restaurant Employee Union?
Same answer, sir.
What has been your relationship with Frank Gerace?
Same answer, sir.
Have you ever discussed Local 54 business with Frank Gerace?
Same answer, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, he's giving this answer, same answer, just to save time, unless you prefer that he read his Fifth Amendment reason.
Are you saying that irrespective of what the
No.
question?
No, sir. He'll, not irrespective of the question, but when he says same answer, he's referring to his Fifth Amendment right alone.
His Fifth Amendment. Did you know Angelo Bruno and Phil Testa?
Same answer, sir.
What was your relationship with Bruno and Testa?
Same answer, sir.
Do you have any knowledge concerning the identities of anyone responsible for the murder of Angelo Bruno?
Same answer, sir.
Do you have any knowledge concerning the identity of anyone responsible for the murder of Phil Testa?
Same answer, sir.
Mr. Scarfo, why did you maintain the phone numbers of Frank Gerace and Sue Holland in a coded system of records?
I refuse to answer the question on the grounds of the Fourth and Fifth Amendments of the United States Constitution.
Did you know Robert Lumio?
I invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and decline to answer the question.
What was your relationship with Robert Lumio?
Same answer, sir.
Did you ever discuss Local 54 business with Robert Lumio?
Same answer, sir.
Do you know any of the following individuals associated with Local 54? Al Diodone, D-I-A-D-O-N-E, Vice President; Eli Kirkland, Organizer; Carlos Lassane, Grievance Manager.
Same answer, sir.
Do you know Frank Latino?
Same answer, sir.
What has been your relationship with Frank Latino?
Same answer, sir.
Did you ever have any discussions with Phil Testa concerning the appointment of the consigliere for the Bruno family?
Same answer, sir.
Do you know any members of the Genovese or Gambino crime families?
Same answer, sir.
Have you filed income tax returns since 1975?
Same answer, sir.
Senator Rutland?
What if you might tell us about the trial that you underwent in 1980? Just tell us what you were charged with.
I was charged with murder on the strength of Joe Salerno's testimony, and I was also found not guilty.
I understand that. You were acquitted.
Yes.
Who else was tried with you? Could you tell us that, please? Who are your fellow defendants?
Lawrence Molino and Philip Leonetti, which are also acquitted.
And the name of the deceased again? The man who was killed by someone?
Vincent Falcone.
Say again, please.
Vincent Falcone.
Could you spell that last name, please, just for me?
Falcone.
And was he a friend of yours?
I invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and decline to answer the question, sir.
And how old are you, Ms. Scarfo?
53.
And where were you born?
Brooklyn, New York.
And how long have you been in the business of Scarf Incorporated? How long have you had that business?
I invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and decline to answer the question.
I'm going to ask counsel to have Mr. Scarfo advise him again. Did he get your instruction correctly? I just asked him at what time Scarf Incorporated was in business.
Well,
did he understand your...
Yeah, but the question presumes something that's not a fact, sir. Mr. Scarfo is not related to Scarf Inc. It's his nephew, Philip Leonetti.
I see.
That was the testimony.
I wonder if you might tell me how long the gentleman on your left, Mr. Simone, has represented you as your counsel.
A little before that. Yeah, about 5 years. 4 or 5 years, sir.
And do you own any real estate anywhere at all?
I invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and decline to answer the question.
Well, are you currently employed?
Same answer, sir.
Do you have a safe deposit box anywhere?
Same answer, sir.
And did you see Ralph Natale this morning as he came into the building here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is he a friend of yours?
Same answer, sir.
How long have you known Ralph Natale?
Same answer, sir.
I think the record is replete and complete.
Mr. Scarfo, I have to state very plainly and bluntly that I'm disappointed. Disappointed that you have answered none of the questions propounded either by Senator Rudman or myself. You have sat here this morning and your name and involvement in matters under investigation by this subcommittee have been prominently mentioned and discussed. And we think it's important that you answer these questions. Now, the subcommittee is going to be continuing to proceed with these investigations, and we will take your taking the Fifth and other objections under advisement. I admit and recognize that you have a constitutional right to take the Fifth Amendment where it incriminates yourself, but very candidly, in any number of these questions, it's extraordinarily difficult to see why this action is appropriate. This will conclude the questioning of you, Mr. Scarfo. As I said, we will perhaps be back in contact with you. And the subcommittee is in recess until tomorrow morning
Thank you very much.
at 10 o'clock.
Sir, your attorney, I need... Bobby?
Crazy. Suppose we don't show up to them. Oh, man, I want to the city. I don't have a car. That's S-I-M-O-N-A.
S-I-M-O-N-E in your first name.
Agents arrested Nicodemo Little Nicky Scarfo at his Atlantic City home this morning. The reputed head of organized crime in the Philadelphia area was taken to Camden to appear before U.S. District Court Judge Stanley Brotman. Authorities are reportedly seeking to revoke Scarfo's bail because of his alleged association with known criminals. The hearing is scheduled to continue tomorrow morning. When bail was set on July 7th of 1981, Judge Brotman forbade Scarfo to leave Atlantic City without approval, and he was forbidden to have contact with people connected with organized crime. Alleged Philadelphia mob boss Nicodemo Little Nicky Scarfo is in jail tonight following a ruling by a Camden federal judge. The judge revoked Scarfo's bail on a firearms conviction and ruled that he must now serve a 2-year sentence in federal prison. Brenda Flanagan reports.
Scarfo returned to the Camden Federal Building this morning for the continuation of bail revocation hearings before U.S. District Court Judge Stanley Brotman. The hearings convened yesterday at the request of Robert Stewart, Chief Prosecutor for Newark's Organized Crime Strike Force, who had Scarfo arrested by FBI agents on a federal bench warrant and immediately brought to court. The alleged mobster had been out on bail for over a year, pending an appeal of his April 1981 conviction on firearms possession. Today, Stewart again argued Scarfo had violated bail restrictions by associating with known criminals. Stewart also implied Scarfo was connected to the recent shooting of Wildwood resident Joseph Salerno Sr., the father of a man who has testified against Scarfo several times. The prosecutor maintained it further endangered the public to permit Scarfo to remain free on bail. But Scarfo's attorney, Robert Simone, countered that the state had no direct proof of his client's connection to the Salerno shooting. Furthermore, he argued Scarfo had met with known criminals only on a purely social basis. Although he agreed there was no sound evidence linking Scarfo to the shooting, Judge Brotman ruled Scarfo had knowingly associated with criminals, thus violating a specific condition set when Scarfo posted bail last year. He revoked that bail, and Nicky Scarfo was later led from the courthouse in handcuffs. Afterwards, Simone told reporters his client's friendship with convicted felons was innocent, but that Scarfo will not appeal.
In my opinion, he didn't associate with them, or he saw them on occasion. That wasn't associated, in my opinion. The judge disagrees with me, and the judge is the law.
However, Scarfo's firearms conviction remains on appeal. Officials say Scarfo will be taken for a temporary imprisonment to the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York. There, federal authorities will decide where Scarfo will serve his 2-year sentence. In Camden, I'm Brenda Flanagan.